What is happening, everyone? Welcome to Mailbag Monday. This is episode 16. It's my sweet 16. Maybe my daddy will finally buy me a car. I'm not holding my breath on that one. Be nice to have a nice little bow tie on it, though, wouldn't it? Guys, thanks for tuning in. If you have questions that you want to have answered on Mailbag Monday, shoot me an email, k8mrd@icloud.com, and in the subject, make sure you put Mailbag Monday. That way, hopefully I read it, and maybe we'll even actually answer it. So that's what you do. Guys, we got some good questions today. Let's dive in and see what we have happening. The first one, we kind of touched on this a little bit in last week's episode. We're talking about safe distances from antennas, and this viewer writes, "Hi, Mike. Thanks for sharing your experience with the community." You're welcome. What distance from the antenna do you keep when transmitting at 100 watts? Do you take the band into account, like, for instance, the shorter the band, the greater the distance, or vice versa? Does the antenna gain make a difference for you in this matter? I mean, would you keep yourself farther from, let's say, a delta loop than from a plain old humble dipole? Well, to answer your question, I'm going to answer your question two different ways. So I don't pay attention at all. It really doesn't matter, but don't take my word for it. You know, when we're portable with 100 watts, it really doesn't matter. But don't just take my word for it. Let's do some actual research. So just like we did last time, we can hop over to the ARRL's website, and here in the website search, you can type in RF exposure or just EXP, and that will bring you to this RF exposure calculator. So if you're worried, don't worry about me, worry about yourself and what kind of situation you're going to have. So let's say my power at the antenna is 100 bananas, okay? Mode duty cycle, put in what you're going to be doing. I always do 50% because it's pretty much I'm exchanging my call sign and then you're exchanging your call sign. Let's put 1 minute transmit for both transmit and receive. Antenna gain, what's a dipole? About 2.5, 2.8 dBi, something like that. Let's just go with 2.5. And operating frequency, let's put it 14, and then we will hit enter. Or no, we have to go down here to calculate. So you can see at 100 watts, our maximum safe distance, or excuse me, our minimum safe distance in feet is 1.5 feet, or 0.4 meters. So you kind of don't need to worry about it. Now, let's see if we're running 1,500 watts, if that changes anything. Maximum safe distance is 5.6 feet. So it kind of doesn't matter. Let's say we're on 3.8 megahertz. Let's go down to 80, see what that does. Minimum safe distance 1.5 feet. So the lower in the bands, the closer we can be. So let's go up to 50.125 up in 6 meters there. Now we're putting out 1,500 watts. We need to be 12 feet away, okay? That's kind of probably where my antenna is, but let's go back down to 100 watts. So the higher the frequency, it does matter to some degree. So at 100 watts at 6 meters, we need to be 3 feet away from the antenna. So it kind of, that's why I say it just, you don't really need to worry yourself about this kind of stuff unless you're pushing 1,500 watts on 6 meters and the antenna is right near your head. You might not want to do that, but out in the field, your antennas are, you usually have enough room where your antenna is going to be a little farther away for it to not be an issue. But so good question, and like I said, check out the ARRL's website for that RF exposure thing if you ever have any concerns on it. That's a great tool, and you know, something to keep in mind. You don't want to radiate yourself. So good deal. Thanks for writing in. Our next question has to deal with an antenna that has seemed to be very popular on the Monday Mailbag series. It has to deal with the Wolf River Coils antenna. And to be honest, the only reason I'm answering this, because I feel we've beaten Wolf River Coils to death, is because he addressed me as Papa Poda. Now, I'm not saying that's going to work every time, but it worked this time. So he says he's got another Wolf River Coil question for you. Having trouble deciding between the Silver Bullet 1000 and the 102-inch whip, and the Mini with the 213-inch whip. I would go with the Mega Base regardless. Good, that's good. What pros and cons would you see with each, and which would you ultimately prefer? It will mostly be used for POTA activations where my homebrew 40-20 17 meter link dipole isn't feasible. Also would like the option of 75-80 meters, as I do not have any 75-80 meter capable antennas at the KTH or in the field. That last sentence you said immediately eliminates the Silver Bullet Mini, so get that out, because that doesn't do 80. So now that leaves us with the Silver Bullet 1000, which will do 80 meters all the way to 6 meters. So that's the coil you should get, the Silver Bullet 1000. As far as the whips, so long as you're whipping it good, either one's going to get you on the air. The more radiating element you have in the air, the better. So the stock whip that would come with the regular Silver Bullet 1000 for me has always worked great, and I personally use this more. But there's the 17-foot whip that a nice thing about this, especially if you're on 80, well, instead of having 102 inches of wire or radiating element rather, you have 17 feet, which is going to be much better. It's going to do more good for you. The other benefit about this is this 17-foot whip is already resonant on 20 meters. So you would not use the coil at all unless you shortened this, maybe a foot, and then you could use just a little bit of the coil for inductance, which I don't know why you would do that. You can just use the whip alone. So I have been using this whip a little bit more lately. I did a trip with my buddy Ryan. We activated an island that had never been activated, and we used this in conjunction with my K-Murder Death Spike, just right in the sand, and this was our radiating element. Didn't even use the coil at all. I brought it. Maybe if we were to get on 40, I would need it, but didn't need it at all. So this is definitely a good bit of kit to have in your arsenal. And I've owned this for years, and I'm really just now kind of starting to see how cool it is. It definitely works. I mean, it's quarter wave on 20 meters, just fully extended. So I would say with the mega tripod, the Silver Bullet 1000, and the 17-foot whip, you've got a heck of an antenna there. So for your situation, I would say that would be what I recommend. So thanks for writing in. Always love talking about Wolf River coils. So this next question has to do with something I don't know an incredible amount of, but I own 2 of these, so I feel I'm somewhat qualified to answer. This reader's asking, Mike, I have an ICOM 705, and I'm looking for affordable amp suggestions for using it as my base radio when at the QTH. Any thoughts? So first off, don't know what your definition of affordable is. So I'm just gonna talk about the 2 that I have personally used and know of. There's you can go down a huge rabbit hole with amplifiers, but I'm gonna throw affordable to the wind because we don't have that information, and I'm gonna answer it this way. So the first amplifier would be the Xiegu, Shigu, Xiegu, Zorro XPA 125B. This is 120. What is it? This is 100 watt amp. You can squeeze a little bit more out of that on some bands. Has an internal tuner. This will tune pretty much anything you throw at it. With the 705, there's just one cable that plugs into the accessory port there that you will need to purchase separately, but it works. It works fine. You will lose some of the functionality of this in that you'll have to manually change the bands, where this is made for Xiegu radios, so they kind of work better with that. But I've used this multiple times. It works great. I think it's about $550, somewhere in that ballpark. So maybe that's your definition of affordable, maybe not. But this works great. It is a bit heavier, but since you're only going to use it at home, I'd say it's a great option. The other one, which I don't think would be as good of an option for home use as an amplifier, but it is more affordable in that it's about $200-ish, would be this MX P50M radio. Now, you do need to do a modification, in which I filmed a video, and it'll be out soon, on how to do that. But you need to modify this amp inside. You need to take the cover off. You need to cut some wires. You need to add some circuitry that you also have to build in order to get this to play nicely with the 705. Even after doing that, however, this is rated as like a 45 watt amplifier. I really would say the most I've ever gotten out of this is 42 watts, but you really don't want to drive this with too much power either. It starts to splatter. So really, I would say this is about a 35 watt amplifier. If that's good enough for you, this is certainly going to be a cheaper one, but there's that caveat of you got to do a lot of circuitry stuff, and it's not the easiest thing in the world. I wouldn't say it's hard, but if you're not comfortable opening up your brand new amplifier and literally cutting wires and inserting a circuit inside of this and closing it all back up and trusting that it's going to work without frying your $1,400 705, I would say the XPA 125B would be your better option because, again, still 35 watts. So, but your mileage may vary. Maybe that's all you care about is 35 watts. So there's more amplifiers out there, obviously. I think just about every other single one of them that I know of is going to be more expensive. If there's any viewers that know of something else, drop a comment, and maybe you can follow up that way. But either of these are good options, though. So, cool. Thanks for writing and appreciate the question. Next, we have something that I have been learning an incredible amount about lately, and hopefully you have too if you've watched the video on this. This viewer is writing, I just ordered the DX Commander Classic after watching your videos and a few others, and I'm in need of some new coax for it. I saw that you reference Messi and Poloni quite often and was hoping you could give some advice on which one of theirs I should get. A 100-foot run is what I'm looking for, and will only be using it for that antenna alone, 40 through 10 meters. Thanks, and hope you are still doing well. I'm doing fantastic, and thanks for writing in. So, Messi and Poloni, being the great company that they are, have on their website a coax calculator that we can check out and kind of determine which one's going to be the best for us. So, let's hop over to the internet machine and take a look at that. So we're going to go over to Messi.it and just get to their homepage. And here you can hit Compare Coax and Messi Calculator, compare values, and create your own coax. So we're going to click on that. And here, the first thing we want to do is decide whether you want to do meters or feet. So let's do feet. And you can simply fill in all of these parameters. And over here, it's going to tell you your loss and wattage and all that stuff. So let's just pick, say, 7 megahertz to start off with. Whoops. And then you can click up here and cycle between which coax you want to take a look at. So for HF, it really, I mean, ultimately the answer is buy the best coax that you can afford. But at a certain point, you know, it could be overkill. You know, I don't think you'd necessarily need HyperFlex 13 half-inch coaxial cable for HF. But that would certainly be the absolute best option you can get. I use UltraFlex 7 Sahara for my HF station, specifically the Sahara because I'm in Texas and it's hot, and the Sahara line specifically is designed to have better performance in hotter areas. If you're not in a hotter area, it is completely arbitrary, and you could just use regular UltraFlex 7. But that's what I'm using. So let's say we're going to change our length to 100 feet. And then as far as degrees, it is 75 degrees here this morning right now. So let's put that in and hit enter, and we can see we have 0.5 dBs of attenuation. Now, let's go up to 10 meters at 28 megahertz, not 287. 28 megahertz, and we have 0.9 dBs of attenuation. So basically, the UltraFlex 7 is slightly thicker. It's like 1 millimeter thicker than RG8X, but it has better specifications than RG213. So it's a fantastic cable. Now, if you want to go up one, you can go to either UltraFlex 10 or HyperFlex 10. And let's take a look at, let's just take a look at regular HyperFlex 10. And now you can see we have 0.6 dBs of attenuation at 10 meters. And let's go back down to 40 meters. We have 0.4 dBs of attenuation. So definitely the 10 series, whether it's HyperFlex 10 or UltraFlex 10. Let's look at UltraFlex 10. I think they're going to have the same specs. And you can go deeper down this rabbit hole, and they have specifications on each one of their coaxial cables and the differences between them. And some are solid core, some are stranded core, most are copper, but some are aluminum shielding and whatnot. Just depends on what you're looking for. But that would be what I would do, and just kind of play around with this calculator, see which one works best for you, and go with that. So, but I would say either the 10 or the 7 would be just fine. So it just depends on how many of those bananas you want to go down your coax. But yep, they got all the tools, and you can save 5% either at Gigaparts or at Messi and Poloni. I'll leave how to do that in the description. But yeah, never pay full price for Messi and Poloni. There's coupon codes. So if you order direct from Messi and Poloni, just use code K at MRD, and there's a link specifically to Gigaparts to save 5%. So there you go. I hope that helps. Thanks for writing in. Lastly, this is a great question. I love this one because it talks about antennas. Go figure that. And specifically wire. I'm trying to figure out the best portable antenna wire, but hard to do without putting money on it and getting it. I like the Wireman Wire 26 gauge, but it's not very flexible. I ordered some BNTech Go 24 gauge off of Amazon, and it breaks too easily for my liking. Good Lord, man, what are you doing to your wire if you're breaking that? Looking into PolyStealth now, and I know you like Sodabeam's wire. Just wanted to hear your thoughts and compare and contrast on the different wires. Thanks. Thank you for writing in. This is a great question. I love different antenna wires, and I have a few. I've actually used every single one of these that you've mentioned here. And let's give you my thoughts over on this camera over here. So let's talk about the first one, the BNTech Go. This is the Cartenna, and they're using 22 gauge silicone BNTech Go wire. I like BNTech Go wire. I like it a lot. I don't personally care for it for an antenna wire just because it's thicker with that silicone wire, whatever the heck you call it, the shielding, the jacket. But inside Big Geek and Little Geek, my battery boxes, every bit of wire in there is BNTech Go wire. I really like it a lot. The Wireman wire comes with the Pactenna antennas, and I think it's strong enough. I do like it, but it tends to have a memory, so it can kink a little bit. It doesn't smooth out when you unwrap it from the antenna. So I have purchased some, but that was years ago at Hamcation, and I don't think I'd ever have it be my first choice of wire to purchase again because there's better wire. The PolyStealth wire is my absolute favorite antenna wire in the world. It's strong, it's flexible, it's super thin, it's lightweight, it doesn't really have a memory. It tends to kind of straighten out after you wrap it around things. It is very strong. I think this probably has like a 25-pound breaking strength, if not a little higher. The unfortunate thing is it's back-ordered right now, but you can go to amateurradiosupplies.com, and that's where I buy it. That's who sells it. I'll leave links in the description for all this stuff. And the other is that I have since rewired one of my Pactenna NFET half-waves with this Sodabeam's wire. I really like the Sodabeam's wire. You can get it on 100-meter spools, or you can get 500-meter spools. It is stupid cheap. I think it's the 100-meter spool is like $11 or $12, and then you got to pay shipping. So it ends up being like $25 US to get a 100-meter spool of this. Again, 26 gauge. I use real small stuff. So if you're breaking your BNTech Go wire, stop putting so much pressure on it, because all of these are thinner than the wire that you sourced. But the Sodabeam's wire I like for a couple reasons. I don't like it as much as the PolyStealth, but it's yellow. I like the high visibility, and that's really what draws me towards this. It's still 26 gauge, which I like. You have no problem pushing 100 watts through this. Not quite as strong as the PolyStealth, but it doesn't really have much of a memory as well when you unwrap it. So my two favorite antenna wires, I would say, would be the PolyStealth and the Soda Beams wire. So the Soda Beams is readily available. I just ordered a brand new spool of this a few weeks ago, and it just arrived, and that's how I made this. So I would say do the Soda Beams unless you can find the Poly Stealth, or buy spools of both, and you'll never not need more antenna wire. So it's kind of just good to have on hand. I've got spools of stuff lying around here. So hopefully that helps, and take it easy on your antennas. Stop breaking stuff. But thanks for writing it. And sadly, that is going to be the conclusion of our Sweet 16 Mailbag Monday episode. Again, if you have questions you want to have featured on Mailbag Monday, shoot me an email, k8mrd@icloud.com, and in the subject put Mailbag Monday, and you may or may not have your question answered. Guys, thanks so much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week, and we will see you again on another episode of K8MRD Radio Stuff. 73, guys.